So here in Las Vegas, I've heard multiple people talking about the regular season meetings for the Spurs and the Knicks and how important they are, that the Knicks have confidence that they could beat San. I'm like, shut up, dude, really. At this stage of the campaign, it is June right now. I don't care what these teams did in December. I don't care what they did in March. It's June. They're different teams in different form. That being said, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to game one for the Knicks and the Spurs. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the series price before this starts. Let's get into it. Let's break it down with a big game breakdown for game one. Teddy covers, Ted Savransky from WagerTalk.com. And we start by looking at the Odds Logic live odds screen. You go to WagerTalk.com, you can get free odds each and every day. Our free odds screen is as good as any. That said, and it really is, the Odds Logic live odds screen is even better. All right. You get a free trial, oddslogic.com/Teddy. Right now, I'm seeing both here in Vegas. I'm looking at the books around the U.S. I'm looking at the books in the global marketplace, and the number is -5. There are some -4.5s out there with juice. FanDuel's got one right now. There are some 5.5s out there for San Antonio. Right now, BetMGM and DraftKings has 5.5s. FanDuel is 4.5. But most books are sitting at 5. That said, the beauty of the Odds Logic live on screen, if right now you want San Antonio, boom, you can lay 4.5. If you want the Knicks, bang, you can find 5.5. As long as you have accounts at the books that are listed on the screen, you can get those numbers. You're not buying points. You're getting them because you're looking at the Odds Logic live on screen. Anyhow, 5, the prevailing number, 218.5, the prevailing total as we speak. And look, the NBA Cup meant something this year. That's a good thing, you know. The Spurs and the Knicks battled for the title in December, and now they're battling for the real title in June. And that's good for the league, and that's good for the NBA Cup. Maybe it gets a little bit more attention next year because it was a finals preview. But don't be fooled for a minute into thinking that any of those previous meetings matter now. They don't. At the time, remember, the last time these two teams met twice early in the season and then once at the beginning of March, right after the All-Star break. At the time of any of the meetings, San Antonio had not won a playoff game this decade. All right, let alone won 3 playoff series, including knocking off the defending champs on their home floor in Game 7. Very different thoughts about what the Spurs were in December compared to what we're seeing now in the finals. All right. At that time, when the Knicks beat the Spurs for the Cup in December, the Knicks hadn't reeled off 11 straight wins through 3 playoff series while compiling a plus 19.8 net rating in the postseason. By far the best in the NBA. So, yeah, they met twice in the regular season and then the NBA Cup final, which actually doesn't count as a regular season game. It was, and I was talking with a couple of guys I really respect over the weekend. There's one of the advantages of living in Las Vegas for as long as I have is, guys, you meet guys, you've known guys for years, you know who's good at what. I had an interesting discussion over the weekend with the concept of what do we think about the regular season meetings for Knicks Spurs compared to what's going on right here. And of course, the thought process, from my friends were saying, look, the regular season ended months ago. And the only stats that matter now are the postseason stats. And if we look just at the postseason stats, you can make a legitimate argument that the Knicks are an undervalued commodity right now. The Knicks, you make an argument, the Knicks are should be the higher power rated team in these two teams right now. The markets are telling us that the Spurs are -2, -2.5 on a neutral floor, But if you're looking just at the postseason, the Knicks have been the better team in the again, plus 19.8 net rating for the Knicks in the playoffs. 11 straight wins for the Knicks in the playoffs. If we're looking at current form, you can make a legit argument that the Knicks are the better of these two teams. And perhaps there's some value on the New York side of the equation. Of course, the question for Game 1, and Game 1 and the series are extraordinarily correlated. Let me talk about it. If you're betting on the series price here, San Antonio, I'm seeing -190, -195, -210, -205. let's call it -$2 for the Spurs in that range. Mine really -190 is the prevailing number. The books that are charging more than that are books that cater to recreational bettors. And if you're playing into the recreational market, you're not getting the best of the number with most of this stuff. But San Antonio almost a 2-1 favorite. The take back on the Knicks is +165, +170. This number will be adjusted after every game. If you think the Knicks are live in game one, if you think the Knicks are going to win game one, you make a bet on the Knicks plus the points, you make a bet on the Knicks on the money line, and you bet the Knicks on the series price. Why? Because if the Knicks win game one, the series price adjustment is going to push this down to pick'em range. And then if you want, you can bet San Antonio at pick'em before game two to win the series, and boom, you're locked in. You got a plus price on the one, you have a pick'em on the other, and you're basically free rolling with your wager. That's a really good concept, right? That's a way to make money in the NBA. So for any given game in a series, you're betting a series wager, you bet the same side as you do with the game wager, and you expect to get the best of the number. And that gives you options moving forward in the series. So if you think the Knicks are live in game one, you probably want a New York series bet right here as well. If you think the Spurs are live in game one, and the adjustment will be bigger if the Knicks win game one than if San Antonio wins game one, because San Antonio is supposed to win game one. But San Antonio wins game one, -190 is going to be cheap for the Spurs. Money line bets correlate with the next game's bets very, very strongly. So I'm going to talk about rest versus rust, which is where, I got sidetracked there. There's a lot to talk about for the NBA Finals. There always is for these type of games. But rest versus rust. So in this century, the team with the greater rest differential in the NBA Finals, 13-13. Does that tell you something? It tells me something. It tells you don't worry about it so much. You know, obviously the Knicks have had an extreme layoff. All right. And it's only happened once in the last decade that a team had an extreme layoff, where one team had been off for 5 or more days compared to their opponent in the NBA Finals. That came in 2023 when the Denver Nuggets faced the Miami Heat. And Denver was coming off, I think, a sweep. They had, Denver had a long layoff, and Miami had just fought a battle. Remember, they had that I believe that was a series against Boston where they won the first 3 and then lost the next 3 and had to win game 7. But Miami, if memory serves correctly. But the point is this, it's not remembering some series from 3 years ago. It's the team with the rust versus the team with the rest, rest versus rust. It's the same team. But the team with the rust/rest, Denver, in that game one, the only one in the last 10 years that we've seen in this type of spot, they led by 17 at halftime. They were outscored actually by double digits in the fourth quarter of that game one against Miami, and still won by double digits. Now, that was a mismatch series. Denver was a far better of the two teams, but the rust, the layoff, did not hurt the Nuggets. It was the team coming off the game 7 win that was a little bit slow and a little bit sluggish in the opener. So worth noting there, obviously the Knicks in this spot have the long layoff, rust, maybe a little bit, but the rest certainly matters. And this quote from Karl Anthony Towns stood out to me, about how the Knicks are approaching this time off, or approach this time off. Quote, "We really want to get back to work." We know what's happened last time we had a long layoff, so we already talked about it after the game right away about preparing, getting to practice, back to the work. That's what made us special. That's what's going to give us a chance to win the next series. Yeah, we're looking at the Knicks plus in game one. I think the Knicks can and do match. I don't know if they're going to match up for 7 games with San Antonio, but I don't think this is a mismatch. When you look at what the Knicks have done in the playoffs, they've been as good as anyone. Sidewise, Knicks are pass for this better. Total-wise, interesting really, too. I do want to ask you guys before I start talking about the total, if you like these videos, give us a like, give us a comment, give us a follow. Thank you. And, of course, visit the website, WagerTalk.com. Visit my homepage, www.buzz.com/TC. Genuinely appreciate your support. And, of course, when we're this close to We have less than 500 subscribers away from 250,000 to WagerTalk TV. Subscribe and get instant alerts when these videos go live. They're free. There's a bunch of them every day from quality cappers at WagerTalk. If you like this content, get instant alerts. Give us a subscribe. Thank you. Comment, like, you know the drill. We appreciate it. Total wise, really interesting. The Spurs just played the best defensive team in the NBA regular season, and they eviscerated them down the stretch. And they had a 121.9 offensive rating in the series. They played with pace throughout. Right now, San Antonio, we're going to call them an over team. The offense is working. The pace is there. And they just showed us what they could do, even against an elite defensive foe. That's because they got, with the level of talent they have, they've got creators all over the floor. It's not just Wembanyama. The Knicks, number 1 in offensive rating here in the postseason. The Spurs are number 3. That said, the Knicks are number 1 in defensive rating as well in the playoffs, and the Spurs are number 2 in that regard. From a pace standpoint, among the 16 playoff teams, Spurs number 3 in pace, Knicks number 8. So the San Antonio has been pushing tempo, and the Knicks have been middle of the pack in that regard. When we look at I talked about the regular season meetings not meaning anything. And there's one thing the regular season meetings might mean. All right. In the 3 previous meetings between the two squads this year, 5 of the 6 sides have not been, there hasn't been a whole lot of stops. All right. We've seen the Spurs score against the Knicks. We've seen the Knicks score against the Spurs. We've seen the offenses rule. We saw an over 233.5 cash between these two teams. We saw an over 235.5 cash between these two teams. This total is sitting 218.5. Yeah. As the series progresses, I don't know that we're looking at overs the way we are early on, but game 1, game 2, game 3s, gut reaction here is to look at some overs between the Knicks and the Spurs, 2 teams that are playing in very good offensive rhythm, and 2 teams, at least for San Antonio, who are looking to push pace. There you have it, guys. That's my take for game 1. Not heavily invested in the props. Game 2 and beyond will look a lot at the prop market for the NBA Finals. Game 1, we're going to let things play out. We're going to see how these teams match up in June, as opposed to how they match up early this season. We'll talk a little bit more about props in our next free play video, which will be available Friday morning for game 2 as the Knicks take on the Spurs. So be sure to check out all the content, WagerTalk.com. Have a great betting week. Thanks for watching. Cheers.